It's fantastic for you to be joining us this morning. Really excited for what we've got in store. We're going to have Danny a little bit later sharing a big question for this week, as well as leading us in some prayer. But first, before we do any of that, I want to hear what you're thankful for. What has been the highlight of this week for you? You're going to have a minute to do it. Pop it in the chat. Go! To hear what you're thankful for. Can you guess what today's challenge is? You may not have one of these, and if you don't, you're just going to have to laugh at me. But if you do, our challenge this week is to see how many hula hoops you can manage. I know that some of you have been doing it whilst doing action songs or in worship, so I know that some of you are pretty pro. I want to hear how many you can do. If it's too easy, why not try standing on one leg or on a trampoline? The options are endless, but I want to see who can do the most hula hoops this week. I'm going to have one more go to see how many I can do. Are you ready to count? Trusting you to count properly. 3, 2, 1, go! Ooh. Well, there you go. I'm out of breath. Danny, over to you.
Hey everyone. Jess, I love that hula hoop challenge. I might eat some hula hoops instead of trying to spin them around. I love hula hoops. And today, everyone, our big question, we are thinking about how can I have faith? How can you have faith? Now, there might be different ways that we can talk about this. One of the ways that we could be able to talk about this is if, say, we were all in one big room together, like we normally would be, and I asked one of you to come up to the front as a volunteer, and I chose you, and I said to you, you can choose anyone in this room to catch you as you fall backwards. Who would you choose? Would you choose your brother, or your sister, or your best friend in the room? Or would you definitely not choose your brother, or your sister, or your best friend? I wonder who you would choose. Well, my guess would be you would choose someone you would trust. Ultimately, you don't know whether they will actually catch you, but by how much of a good friend they are to you and you are to them, that shows how much trust you have in them. And so you're more likely to choose them, to put your trust in them to catch you when you fall. Now, over the next few weeks, we're going to be thinking about two main ways that will help us with our faith. We're going to be thinking about prayer and reading the Bible. But we'll get there in a couple of weeks. But for the time being, today, I had a little think about, well, how could I explain what else is faith about, or what does faith look like? And I think faith we can often talk about through our experience. In the same way we can experience the trust of our friends, we can experience our trust in God, and that's what we're talking about. So, you're going to watch a video clip in just a moment of me. Earlier today, I got a bucket of water, I filled it up, and I spun it round over the top of my head. Do you think I will get soaking wet as I spin it round, or bone dry? I wonder what you think. Have a quick think. Watch the clip. See what happens. Hey, look everyone. Water. Do you think it's going to get me on the head? 3, 2, 1. Hey, some of you thought I was going to get soaking wet, didn't you? Well, I'll show you a clip at just the end and what happens when you don't spin it and you tip a bucket upside down on the top of your head. Now that you've seen me do it, I wonder how many of you would like to do this at home. If your parents allow, and if you do it safely outside. Now when you do it, you might still be a little bit nervous, but you'll probably be more confident now that you've seen me do it and seen the result of it, knowing that I didn't get wet. And I think the same is true of our trust in God. The more in life we see God and we see how he helps us in lots of different situations, the easier it is and the more confidence we can have to put our trust in him. So how can we have faith? Ultimately, well, that's for you to chat a little bit more about later with your parents, with your brothers and your sisters. And next week we're going to come back to our next big question. And you wonder what it is? We'll find out next week. But now, before we go and see the video of me getting soaking wet, we're going to pray. So you might want to close your eyes. You might want to put your hands over your eyes. I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to put my hands out so I'm not fidgeting with different things. You might like to fidget if that's a way that helps you pray to God. So firstly, I'd love for you to tell God in your head what it is you love about playing outside. Now tell God what it is you love about playing with water. Ask God why he's given us water. Now, I'd love for you to tell God a problem at the moment you find really, really hard. Ask God how he can help you in your problem. And finally, tell God what you're going to get up to the rest of today. God, we thank you that you love us and you want us to be best friends with you. Help us to put our faith in you and to trust you every single day of our lives. Amen. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today on Families Online. Our big question, how can we have faith? All our resources are on our webpage, stbs.org.uk/families online. You'll find all your stories and your crafts and your questions, and if you're on Ignite and Fuse, you'll find your video to watch in just a short while. In a moment, we're going to all head over to join STBS Online. Click watch right at the top of the screen, all the way up there, or click in the chat and it will appear there in just a moment. But before we go and watch that and join in with our service in Barnabas Bear, here's what happens when you don't spin a water bucket upside down, but you just tip it upside down. This is what happens when you tip a bucket of water on my head. See you next week, everyone.